Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Monday, January 24th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you are somebody that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. Before I get to the stocks, first just want to personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online class that I'm offering next week. So if you're liking what you see as I go through the video and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can be used, how it should be used, and why it's so powerful in terms of helping to build consistency, then definitely get signed up for the free class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down below in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the web page that you're on that you can click on to get signed up. So just keep that in mind, and if you're liking what you see, then definitely get signed up for the free class. One clarification point, the markets are still open for just a little bit of time. So yes, this candlestick right here is still moving, and that price is still moving just because the markets are still open for a little bit. But I like to do these videos when the market's still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting price action. So no, you're not crazy. That candle is still moving. So right here, first one, SPY daily chart. Unless you live under a rock, you know things have been getting a little shaky in the markets lately. So got to definitely just start it with the SPY, the ETF for the overall S&P 500. And the big dynamic that occurred today, from a technical point of view at least, is that the price has now broken down below that pink line there, which is the very famous, very well-known 200-day simple moving average. Now, does that guarantee anything? Of course not. There are no guarantees. But it does certainly bring about a very valid question of, okay, is this the trigger point of something much more bearish? Now, it might not be. Maybe this thing is going to find some buyers and bounce off that level. But like I said, my core point here is it now makes sense to be starting to wonder, okay, are the bears really starting to take over? Is this the start of, a leading indicator of, movement that much further to the downside, which now makes the next potential level very, very interesting, which is down here at the 431 mark. So 431, another very interesting level. Some people would say, no, Clay, I don't think I think it's more so down there around 427, to which I would agree there. But in order to just kind of find some common ground, this is definitely going to be the next main overall support zone. And if the price were to come down to this zone and just break down through it, at that point, I think there's a much bigger problem as far as, the market having more downside momentum. Because right now, yeah, obviously it's been rough, but this could still, to be fair, be one of these pullbacks that have happened over and over again over the past several years. So like I said, right now, it was definitely bearish, but, am I ready to just hop on board and say that the world is over? No, I think that's a little too premature, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of bearishness going on, not just a question of how bearish is this actually going to get. Next one here, QQQ, which is the ETF that measures the Nasdaq, which actually yesterday broke down below its 200-day simple moving average. So as I talked about in the previous video, the question was, okay, is this the start of something bigger? And yeah, it definitely was, as there is just that much more downside pressure here. And I mean, look at all this volume that came in today. So just that much more selling. But what I'm very curious about, because it's still a valid question of, okay, yeah, but is this actually a genuine break, or is the price going to snap back up here? And like I said, very good question. Same observation I'm having. And the level that I'm using to help with that is $350. $350, you can see support, support, support. So if the price were to come down and break through there, then that really signals that, okay, yeah, that this, break right here was not some sort of temporary thing. It wasn't any sort of fake break to the downside. That would signal that, the bears are probably here to stay for quite a bit while longer. Again, that doesn't mean that the price is going to just continue to collapse, but is there going to be any sort of just snap back upwards? I'd be very shocked at that point. Again, if the price goes down and starts to, trade below that 350 mark. But to be fair, right now, it's getting close. It hasn't done that yet. But in my mind, for the Nasdaq, that $350 level, very, very important on the Qs. Next one here, AMC, but a quick clarification. So the first two charts I looked at were the daily time frames, but now what I'll be using from here on out is known as a 30-minute time frame. So for your beginners, all that means is each one of these candlesticks represents 30 minutes worth of time as compared to an entire day. So here, been doing AMC, and I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of that line because really the dynamic right now has everything to do. In fact, let me do this to add a bit more context. But well, let me first just take a step back, give some credit where credit's due. Things were looking real bad. I mean, the price had gotten all the way down there. But after that, spent the rest of the day bouncing, and continues to bounce. But this will mean a little bit more to those of you that have watched the past videos I've done. But surprise, surprise, look where the bounce has been having problems. Oh, right there at that purple line, the 50-period moving average, which I've talked about before. So in my mind, that is the big question mark headed into next week is, okay, great bounce, but can the price finally not only break above that level, but stay above it, which is very important. Because when I go back here, you can see there's been several instances, broke above it, broke above it, broke above it, broke above it, broke above it. But the problem is staying up above it. So that's truly the key question is, of course, yeah, can the price break above it? But much more importantly, next week, can the price actually stay above that level? And right now, valued right around, let's just call it $18.40. So in my mind, that's the key question. If the price can break above $18.40 and most importantly, start to stay above $18.40, then you know what? That could be a signal that the bulls are actually regaining some footing. Next one, SOFI, which looking pretty rough here. Just because really of the big breakout, and then just see that big breakout fail miserably. Now, to be fair, it's not like the markets are booming and then this thing is all of a sudden failed. The markets are getting destroyed. And of course, that's going to be dragging down most stocks with it. That doesn't take away from the fact that this is now a pretty shaky looking chart, given the big breakout and the move downwards. And a key level here that I think every long and short and everybody in between is going to be watching right around $13.50. I mean, you can see, generally speaking, area of support, and then from this morning, level of support. So you're going to have shorts thinking, if the price can get down there and break through 1350, that could create a big momentum to the downside, and their thought is valid. On the flip side, you're going to have longs right there saying, well, the previous times it's been down around that level, there have been some good solid bounces. So if it gets down to that level, I think a good bounce. And again, those people also have a valid thought process. And that's why risk management matters, because somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong. But that doesn't take away from the fact that, in my mind, 1350, definitely the most important level here headed into next week. Next one here, PLTR, and this will mean a bit more to those that watch the previous videos, but talked about that 1450 mark and how that was a very important level. And you can see that the price gap down below it, which brings about the first update when levels of support are broken. They tend to act as resistance, which then played out during that opening 30 minutes because there was an attempted bounce, but you can see, didn't hit it exactly, but certainly got very close. Got bounced back up, level of support, then acted as resistance, and then back down it went. So, the bleeding continues here with the newest level of support now being right down here at $13 and basically 50 cents, which you can see right here. Price bounce off of it. And then when it came down this afternoon, you can see that the price is once again hovering right around that area. So it's pretty straightforward right now. That's the current little miniature channel that the price is in. Top of the channel, 1450. Bottom of the channel, 1350. So really the question in my mind is, okay, is this actually going to stay in the channel here and just kind of chop around next week? Or is this thing going to all of a sudden just continue to bleed and break through the downside of the channel? We'll see what early next week has to offer. Next one, AMD, and I'm sure shocking to nobody. Very brutal day, very brutal past few days. I mean, just getting absolutely destroyed to the downside. And with all that now brings about some interesting levels of support that have not been seen for a very long time, which is why I have the chart scrunched up so much. But a level here that I'm very curious about is going to be right here at the 117.75 mark. As the level of support, you can see way back here, the price found some support there, and then on that pullback found some support right there. So does that mean that it's guaranteed to find support again? Of course not. My point here is it at least plausible? Is it at least a logical thought process to have that the price could find support there? Yeah, absolutely. So keep an eye on that area. And then the next key level of support, if that level doesn't quite hold up, would be down there around the 115 mark. As far as areas of resistance, going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit better. But key level of resistance, if there is any sort of attempted bounce, let's try, there we go. If there is any sort of attempted bounce back to the upside, going to be right up there at the 126 mark, so keep an eye on that. But as of right now, like most stocks, it made the bounce, it's come back down, and now it's just a question of, is it going to get down to that green line there at 117.75? And if it does, how will it behave? Early next week is going to be a very interesting time. Next one, NIO, and this one catches my eye just because the price is now down around a very historic level. Technically speaking, it's a little bit below it, but this is just a general area here at 2750. And again, generally speaking, you can see this area acted as support, acted as support, acted as support. And once again, the price is getting stuck up right around that area. So now if you want to argue, no, Clay, the price is down below it, therefore you can't consider that a level of support. I mean, I'm not going to argue against that, but you also have to acknowledge the fact that, supports are not exact specific prices to a penny. There is a range element associated to it. So I would still consider this within the range of 2750, but that does not take away from the fact of things are looking very, very shaky right now, because this has been a level that it's been down around many times before, but right now it's become apparently a very real threat that this could be the start of a much bigger breakdown. So 2750, again, is going to be one of those levels that a whole bunch of people are watching. You're going to have shorts watching it. You're going to have longs watching it. Somebody's going to be right. Somebody's going to be wrong. So that's why risk management matters. But no doubt about it, 2750, an extremely significant level that a bunch of trade plans could be built around. Next one, PETZ. And what I like about this one is how it seemed to be just a massive failure earlier on in the day. Price gap down, was just bleeding, and then all of a sudden came to life, and then really came to life, and is now just consolidated the rest of the day. Now, to be fair, maybe this doesn't mean anything. Maybe this was just a little kind of dead cat bounce hiccup and everything's going to roll back over. That's completely possible. But the idea here is at least this movement here brings about a question of, okay, maybe something is brewing. Maybe the bulls are trying to gear back up for a potential, worthwhile move to the upside. And in my opinion, as I've talked about in past videos, a worthwhile move is going to start. And you really can't talk about a worthwhile move in a genuine sense until the price at least gets up above that 55-cent mark, which I've talked about in past videos. But the point here being is, it's gotten back within range. Now, when the price was down here, it really would make no sense to me to be sitting here talking about 55 cents. But because of that movement there, and granted it's pulled back, but there is, in fact, a little miniature bull pattern here. Got a little bull flag. So does this bull flag lead to a breakout up to 55 and above? Maybe, just maybe, especially when this one's been beaten down as much as it has. But you also have to acknowledge that, right here, kind of same thing. Acted like it wanted to be strong and then completely collapsed. So does that mean that it's going to do the same thing here? No, but you got to acknowledge that it has acted like it's wanted to be strong before, just to disappoint. But point here being, it's at least worth keeping somewhere on the watch list, especially if you like these sub $1 stocks. Next one here, the classic GME, and what is very intriguing about this one, the fact that, like AMC, started down really bad and then basically bounced the rest of the day, which is now setting it up by a level that I think a lot of people are watching. So let me be very clear as I draw this line here. I'm not trying to make it seem like this 113 area is some sort of great discovery on my part or anything like that. I assure you a bunch of people have noticed that level, and I emphasize all that because when lots of people are watching the same level, wondering the same thing, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movements. So while it doesn't guarantee anything, my point here is that if this bounce can continue, get up to that area of resistance and get the break up through it, that break in and of itself could very well create quite a bit of upwards buying pressure. Again, not guaranteed to happen, but without doubt, a more than plausible thought to have. So keep an eye on that, and we'll see if this bounce has any sort of genuine strength. But if it does have some genuine strength, kind of that next clue that this could be the start of something much bigger would be getting the break up through that red line there. So let's see what happens with it early next week. Next one, ticker symbol TSLA, Tesla. And let me just do a little house cleaning first, get rid of that line. It's served its purpose. But this is going to be the first update that needs to be made because 980 was a very key level of support. But with the price breaking down below it, that would now be expected to act as resistance. And I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. A classic example of technical analysis. So price broke below it. You'd expect it to act as resistance, as I said. Price bounced back upwards, and then check that out. Again, exactly at 980 to the penny, no, but generally speaking, you can see the price all of a sudden started to struggle around that area before getting pushed back to the downside. So if Tesla does level out and try to come back upwards, that's where the first big question mark resides, is can the price now get back above 980, as that'll be a very significant level of resistance. As far as supports levels are concerned, got to squeeze things down here a bit, as it's been a while since the price has been down at this area of the chart. With the next key area of support, that's basically right where it closed. At this gap close location around, let's call it the 939 mark. So 939 is important just because that's where that gap close would be. But if the price doesn't really care about that and it's just going to keep on going down through the gap, then the next key level of overall support would be down there right around the 925 mark. So overall, those would be the next couple levels here. I try to trade Tesla every day. I know I'll be watching it on Monday, and these will be the main levels that I'm going to keep an eye on. But as of right now, certainly a lot of downwards pressure. That wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here, if you want to learn more about this tool, how it can be used, how it should be used to build consistency as a trader, then definitely get signed up for the class next week. It'll be on Thursday, January 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So get signed up for it. If you enjoy these top 10 videos, then please help me out with some communication. If you want me to keep making videos like this, then hit that like button, leave a simple comment, and say, hi, thanks, what are you watching next week? How'd you do this week, given it's been so crazy? But those two things, hitting the like button, leaving a simple comment down below, go a long way in communicating to me that you enjoy these videos. And as long as I know that you enjoy them, then I will continue to scan and put these watch lists together. So again, if you want to learn more about charts and how to build consistency with them, definitely get signed up for the free class next week. Everybody take care. Have a good weekend.